Phase 5, Giving It Back. Chapter 42. Are you prepared to give back? Investor Control Number 10. Control over giving it back. Dan, a high school classmate of mine, was passing through town and asked if we could play golf. Dan was always a great golfer and I had not played in months, so I hesitated at first. Realizing that the purpose of the game was to spend time together to renew an old friendship rather than compete in a round of golf, I agreed to play. While riding around on the golf cart being humiliated by Dan's golf game, the conversation turned to what we were doing at this stage of our lives. When I told Dan that I had retired and was building businesses, one to take public and one to be held privately, he became very angry. His anger caused him to accuse me of being greedy, thinking only of myself, and exploiting the poor. After about an hour of trying to keep my cool, I could take no more. Finally I asked, "What makes you think that the rich are greedy?" His reply was, "Because all I see are poor people all day long. I never see rich people doing anything for them." Dan is a legal aid attorney for people who cannot afford an attorney. The gap between the haves and have-nots is bigger than ever, and it is not improving. We now have families who have no hope of ever getting out of poverty. They have lost sight of the dream that America was founded on. And guys like you make more and more money. Is that all you can think about? Build businesses and get rich? You've become just as bad as Mike's dad, a greedy rich man who only got richer. Dan's temper began to calm down as the game continued. Finally, at the end of the game, we agreed to meet the next day at the hotel's restaurant and I would show him something I was working on. The next day I showed Dan the game. "What is the game board for?" asked Dan, after we were seated at the table. Showing him the game, I explained my theory that poverty is caused by lack of education. "It is a learned condition," I said. "It is taught at home. Since school doesn't teach you about money, you learn about it at home. So what does this game teach?" Dan asked. "It teaches the vocabulary of financial literacy," I said. Words are, in my opinion, the most powerful tools or assets we as humans have, because words affect our brain, and our brains create our reality in the world. The problem many people have is that they leave home and school and never learn or understand the vocabulary associated with money, which results in a lifetime of financial struggle. Dan studied the colorful game board while the waitress brought us more coffee. "So you plan to end poverty with the board game?" he asked sarcastically. "No," I chuckled. "I'm not that naive or optimistic. I created this game primarily for people who want to become business owners and investors. Cash flow management is a basic skill necessary for anyone who wants to be rich. So you created this game for people who want to be rich, not for the poor?" Dan asked, his anger rising again. Again I chuckled at his emotional reaction. "No, no, no," I said. "I did not create this product to exclude the poor. I'll say it again. I created this game for people who want to be rich, regardless of whether you are rich or poor today." The look on Dan's face softened, if only a little. "My products are designed for people who want to be rich," I repeated again. "My products cannot help anyone, regardless of what their financial station in life is, unless they first want to be rich. My products will not help a rich person or a middle-class person unless they, too, want to become richer." Dan sat there, shaking his head. His anger was getting higher. Finally he said, "You mean I've spent all my life trying to help people, and you're saying I can't help them?" "No. I am not saying that," I replied. "I cannot comment on what you do or how effective you are. Besides, that is not for me to judge." "So what are you saying?" Dan asked. "I'm saying you can't help people unless they truly want to help themselves," I said. "If a person is not interested in becoming rich, my products are worthless." Dan sat there, quietly absorbing the distinction I was attempting to make. In my world of law and legal aid, I often give advice to people. Many people don't take it, said Dan. I see them again after a year or two and their situation is the same. They're back in jail or they're brought up again on charges for domestic violence or whatever. Is that what you're getting at? Advice alone does no good unless the people truly want to change the situations in their lives. That is what I am saying, I said. That is why the best diet and exercise plan will not work unless the person really and truly wants to lose weight. Or why it is often a waste of time and a disturbance to the rest of the class to have a student in the room who is not interested in learning a subject. It is tough to teach anyone who is not interested in learning. And that includes me. For example, I have no interest in learning to wrestle sharks. So you cannot force me to learn. But my golf game is different. I will study hard, practice for hours, and pay big money for lessons, because I want to learn. Dan sat there, nodding his head. I understand, he said. But I did not show you this game for the aspect of getting rich, I said. I want to show you what Rich Dad taught Mike and me about being generous, about giving money back. For the next 10 minutes, I explained Phase 5 of Rich Dad's plan, pointing out to Dan that it was a big part of Rich Dad's plan to be generous, to be charitable. I said to Dan as I pointed to the game board, Mike's dad taught us 5 distinct phases of wealth and money. Phase 5 is the responsibility of giving money back after you make it. Mike's dad strongly believed that to make money and hoard it was a misuse of the power of money. So you put Phase 5 of Mike's dad's plan on your game board. Dan asked a little suspiciously. Your game board not only teaches people to be rich, but it also teaches people to be generous. I nodded my head. It was part of the plan, a very important part. Having grown up with Mike and me, Dan knew who Rich Dad was. He had heard about the investment plan Rich Dad and I had drawn up after I returned from Vietnam. Dan was aware of what I had gone through to learn to be a business owner and an investor. When I spoke of phases 3 and 4 where I was investing in other business and getting richer, he had lost his temper. He was now learning about Phase 5. As I said, Phase 5 is probably the most important phase of Rich Dad's plan. I purposely built it into this game, I said. So what is Phase 5? Asked Dan. Show it to me on the game board. I then pointed to the squares on the fast track of the board game. The board game consists of 2 different tracks. One circular track on the inside is known as the rat race. The outer rectangular track is known as the fast track, which is where the rich invest. These pink squares are Phase 5, I said, pointing to one of the squares. A kid's library, Dan read out loud, as he read the square where my finger was pointing. I then pointed to another square. A research center for cancer, Dan read aloud. And so is this square, I said, moving my finger and pointing to another square. A gift of faith, Dan said, reading the line just below where my finger was pointing. You mean you built charitable squares into the fast track, the investment track of the very rich? Asked Dan. Nodding my head, I said, yes. There are 2 kinds of dreams on the fast track: dreams for personal indulgence, and dreams for creating a better world with your excess wealth. Dan shook his head slowly, saying, you mean Mike's dad taught you and Mike to be charitable as well as rich? I nodded my head as I quickly pointed to all the different charitable dreams found on the fast track of the game board. Rich Dad said one of the most important controls an investor had was the control over returning most of the money back to society. He had a reputation as a rich, greedy man, said Dan. Many people said terrible things about him, about how greedy he was. That is what most people thought, I replied. Yet Mike and I knew differently. The more money he made, the more money he gave away. But he gave it away quietly. I did not know that, said Dan. So his later years were dedicated to giving all the money he amassed back to society. Well, not all of it, I said. He wanted to leave some for his children. The point I want to make is that many people have this belief that the rich are greedy. That belief blinds them to the truth or the reality that not all the rich are greedy. If you open your eyes, you will see that many of the very rich have made tremendous financial contributions to society. Look at what Andrew Carnegie has given back through libraries, Henry Ford through his Ford Foundation, and the Rockefellers through the Rockefeller Foundation. John D. Rockefeller not only created his charitable foundation to give away his money, but he also donated extensively to the University of Chicago, as many rich alumni donate to their schools. Many other ultra-rich people have founded their own institutions of higher learning, just as Stanford founded Stanford University and Duke founded Duke University. The rich have always been very generous to higher education. Vanderbilt University was founded by a very rich entrepreneur, added Dan. I realize that the rich create jobs and provide goods and services to make life a little better. So now you're telling me that they often give the money back to society. That is exactly what I am saying, I replied. And yet many people can only see what they think is the greedy side of the rich. I know that there are greedy rich people, but there are also greedy poor people. So your rich dad gave it back, Dan repeated. Yes, I replied. Phase 5 made him the happiest of all the phases. Besides, being charitable increased his expenses, reduced his income, and took him through the looking glass. What? Stammered Dan in confusion. What looking glass? Never mind, I said. Just know that being generous made him happy in more ways than one. What did he give to? Asked Dan. Since his own father died of cancer, Rich Dad's foundation gave tremendous amounts of money to cancer research. He also built a cancer ward in a small country hospital so the country people could be closer to their loved ones when they were hospitalized. Being a very religious man, he also built a classroom building for his church so the church could have a larger Sunday school for kids. And he was a patron of the arts, acquiring artwork from many talented artists as well as donating money to the museums. The best thing is that his foundation is so well directed that, even after his death, it will continue to earn and donate money. Even in death, he will still do a lot of good for society. The trusts and foundations he set up will be providing money for many worthy causes for years to come. He planned to have too much money in life, and he planned on having too much money in death, said Dan. He definitely had a plan, I replied. So your cash flow game really does include everything your rich dad taught you. He taught you how to make the money and how to give the money back, said Dan. I did my best to include in the game all the important things Rich Dad taught me about money. And the importance of giving back was one of the things he taught me, I replied. He taught me to control the acquisition of wealth, and he taught me how to control giving it back. I wish more people did that, said Dan. Oh, there will be more people giving more money back, I said. Just look at this baby boom generation. Many were hippies in the 60s, and they are fast becoming multimillionaires today. In a few years, the revolution they were a part of will be in full force with cash flow. Many of these one-time hippies and others of that generation are very socially responsible people. What they learned from the 60s, their poor college days, will be brought to fruition in the next few years. Their ideals coupled with their wealth will be a powerful financial, political, and social force in the world. I think that they will do the charitable deeds that our government cannot afford to do today. Many rich boomers will be completing socially responsible deeds they wanted to perform when they were poor. What makes you think they will be generous? Asked Dan. Because it is already happening, I replied. Bill Gates alone has pledged billions of dollars to various causes and has a full-time staff to give the money away. If you look around, you'll see that this baby boom generation of wealthy entrepreneurs will be pressuring each other to be generous. It will be very socially uncool to be rich and not be generous. So Mike's dad was a generous man, and he taught you and Mike to be generous. I nodded my head. Even though many people in town criticized him for being rich, he continued to give quietly. Being generous made financial sense to him as well as giving him pleasure. I really did not know that, Dan said quietly. And giving money away made him happy. I nodded my head. In the later years of his life, I saw a peace come over him that I had never seen before. He had done a lot of good during his life, and he would continue to do good when his life was over. His life was complete. He was very proud of both Mike and me. He said he knew I was more like my real dad. He knew I was a teacher, and he hoped I would go on to teach others as he had taught me. He wanted me to be both Dad's a rich man as well as a teacher. And was that it? Asked Dan. No, I replied. He couldn't leave it at that. He was always afraid that I would give up along the way. He was afraid that I would not have the persistence to make my investment plan come true, which would mean my financial dreams would not come true. He was always afraid that I would join the quitters of the world doing what was easy, rather than doing what was necessary. The last advice he gave me was, keep going, keep minding your own business, keep being true to your dreams, and all your dreams will come true, I said quietly. Bringing me back to the present, Dan asked, so have all your dreams come true? Almost, I replied. I still want to become an ultimate investor. When Kim and I started the Rich Dad Company, our mission was to elevate the financial well-being of humanity. That's a pretty aggressive mission, Dan said with his eyebrows raised. I can see how you would say that, but we accomplish our mission every day. We receive calls, letters, and emails every day from people who have taken action to improve their financial lives. We have been overwhelmed by the response we have from the people using our products. Every time we hear from someone who has improved their financial well-being, we have accomplished our mission. That sounds great, Robert. It's nice to see you so energized by giving, Dan said. We are still developing our outreach and programs. The important thing is to support learning wherever we can. Kim and I have been very blessed with success, and we want to continue to look for ways to give back by helping others learn and then teach financial literacy. For Rich Dad Poor Dad audiobook, click on top right corner. And for Rich Dad Poor Dad audiobook playlist, find the link in description. Thank you for giving your valuable time for this video. We hope you learned something new today. Stay tuned for our next videos. Hey, don't forget to subscribe, like and share this video to your friends. And turn on bell notification for our updates.